Good work.
So are you done plugging the Dakar? Can we plug your movie now?
Oh, let's plug my film, man! Yeah!
How are we going to do it? Because we've watched it. We've had Can we
premiere.
talk about it? We've had our first premiere.
Talk about it, yeah.
Let's not. We won't do spoilers.
No
No
spoilers.
spoilers, mate. No,
No
Okay.
spoilers. You got to go watch it.
You've seen it. You know what it's about. It's
Yeah.
a bit different.
I feel like we should go over what it's approximately about without giving anything away. Do you think you could do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You reckon? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we can talk about that.
The premise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So not doing the World Cup commentary anymore about ended me.
You're not?
Yeah, I won't lie. Yeah. No, I haven't talked about it much, but it did. It was really wild. Actually, I can't still really get to terms with. Yeah, I don't really understand why it messed me up so much. Like it absolutely destroyed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still only now. It was like a good 18 months of absolute grief, depression, I suppose. I don't know. I've never really been depressed, but I've never gone as dark as that, mate. It really, and I still don't really know why. But anyway, you know, I finally came out of it last year. I knew we were going to be doing Beyond the Line, so I made myself go to some World Cups because I knew I needed to level up, as I wasn't going to be able to operate and present. Like it was dark.
So what did going to World Cups look like when you were going to World Cups? Like Fort
as
William,
a
for
guest, you
instance.
mean?
Yeah, what were you doing
you
at the
saw
World
me.
Cup? Yeah, I did. That's
Disguised
why I asked, to be honest.
I wasn't in a good place.
No.
Did you? Yeah, you could say that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I had to go, and that was the start of me recovering a little bit, actually. You know, I didn't
Were you
want
reluctant
to go there.
though?
Huh?
Were you reluctant to go?
Oh, mate, it took everything. I had to go there,
Yeah.
and then I acted weirder than I've ever acted. When the finals were on, I went and sat on my own so I could hear the results in the woods. I just sat in the woods on my own, listening to the results. I couldn't. You know, and obviously the whole time into it, like the year before, or when was it, 2022? That last year of, I mean, that's when I started to have like a breakdown, probably, and
Yeah.
it was. I mean, I can remember, like, we got the news. That was one thing, and then as the season went on, like obviously I was running out of races to commentate on, and I love commentating on mountain bike races because it's literally the only thing in life that I've ever been good at. Right, that's how I see it, literally. So you know, and then in Andorra actually, but we had to go live with a pre-show because there was a change just before it. Fluker had just pulled out or something. And they were like, right, I'm going to do the pre-show again, change it. And we nailed it. We nailed this pre-show live, like minutes to go before we went into the commentary. And then afterwards, and I'll tell you this now, right? This is how Bart is probably one of my best friends. And I've never spoke to him since this all went down. Like,
Really, yeah.
I didn't speak to no one, mate. I fallen out with Martin Ashton because he works for GMBN. I fell out with everyone. You know, bad. I've apologised to Martin now the other day, but probably them people will never be the same with me again. But I was, you know, for want of a better word, I was absolutely fucked. I didn't get out of bed for 2 weeks, mate. I was like, yeah. I cried every day. I was angry. It was like grief. At one point, mate, I speak to this professor, Professor Copeland. I don't think he'll mind me saying that. Like, and it came about because I had a good commentary once, and I said to him, I want to reenact that, and he helped me. He's a sports psychologist, not a shrink. Not that I've ever spoke to a shrink, but I speak to him, and it took me probably months before I even rung him, and I was like, I'm in the shit here, mate. I'm really in the shit here, actually. And then he said, write down all your positive things for like a week, and I couldn't write anything down, except I went out in the garden and saw a leaf had grown on this fucking olive tree that I got. And that was the only, because it had been a bad winter frost-wise, and that was the only thing I could think of that was a positive thing. So I was pretty done. And I still can't really put a finger on it why, but it was my life really, I suppose, 30 years on that tour. And I never really performed as a mountain bike racer, and I'll tell you why in a little bit probably. But like, you know, I don't know, it was just ripped out from under our feet. It was me. I did it for 12 years with Red Bull. Red Bull took me on as this, you know, after Freecaster. They took a massive chance on me, really. They did. I'm fucking loose as. Like,
especially those days.
Yeah, I was out of control. Like I'd been all the way through my mountain bike career and all the way through everything I've ever done. School, college. I never had a job. I had jobs. I got fired from everyone. I got kicked out of school. So that, you know, it was a massive thing to be professional, to learn, and very hard to learn how to be a commentator, and then to do my bollocks on it, absolutely put everything into it. Yeah, I can see why it killed me a bit, because I almost thought that nothing will ever compare to that commentary again, and that might be true at the moment. Nothing's quite as good as commentating on a World Cup yet, but we're coming back with Sedo Abajo and like Hardline's coming. But the World Cup, I was a part of that as a rider, so it is special to me, and I loved all the stats, and I loved it all. I loved it. I loved going in the commentary and broadcast, and I didn't love it. I hated making the transition from freecaster to being a professional commentator. It took me years and thousands of pounds spent by Red Bull with like Gary Bloom. It was the gnarliest thing ever. So
I guess through all that, it's quite easy to see why it's like a big part of your own identity, I guess, how you see yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
Like it
was an obsession for me, for sure.
Yeah.
But
was there like an opportunity to fight back at all? Like obviously you said you got the news of like, okay, it's transitioning to a different broadcast group, however you want to put it. Was there an opportunity there where you were like, whoa, hang on, I can carry on? Or was it almost like
really.
rug pulled, almost like, no, this is it, it's done?
It was, so when we found out, it was literally like the rug had been pulled out. I think, I don't really like to talk on behalf of Red Bull, but for me it was like, has that really happened? But it didn't sink in at the time. And then, that's what I was talking about. We did that pre-show live, and then Bart, after the show, Bart said, it'd make me cry to say it. Sorry. We'll talk about it in a bit, but actually, don't worry if I cry. I've got no control over my emotions, which is actually a thing. So, anyway, and he said afterwards, I'll miss these days with you, Rob. And then I ended up that night walking down the high street in Andorra with all the I went shopping, just take my mind off things. I was just walking down the streets, people everywhere. I just started crying, mate. It was like fucking tears coming out my eyes. I was like, what is going on here? Like, whoa. And that was the start of me breaking down. And I don't really know how I got through them commentaries, but I loved it so much that I did, and I didn't let it slip. I did one in Monson and cross country because I put so much into, like, Finn won the day before, and I knew it was probably like the last swan song, so I went big on it. It was cool. But yeah, so that was the start of it, and then limped through them commentaries. And also, it wasn't like, and it was hard for everyone. I worked really closely with Chris on this series, and Chris Tritch, my boss, and without him, it would never have been what it was. Like he has insane production values that I love. I always I was desperate to do a perfect broadcast. I reckon I came close in Leogang once. I did, because it was short track and quite an easy sort of track to commentate.
Okay.
Yeah, I had all these obsessions with it, but me and Tritch actually a few months afterwards said something that I won't say here, but just really.
Yeah. Mate, it sounds like you've had amazing people around you as well. That's
the
thing.
Exactly.
It's not like the commentary is it, but it's all of it, isn't it? It's like the whole experience for all those years.
And then we had Jamie come in with, who's this fella who was just, for the last 3 or 4 years of it, for a start, he was English and just so much fun. But he was just incredible, like a genius with words, a genius with like creativity and making just out of the air. He's like, right, you do this, you do that, and he was. So I had amazing people around me to do it, and obviously when you've got amazing people around you, you've got to be amazing, right? And I'm difficult as fuck to work with, right? I'm a pain in the ass, and Red Bull put up with all that. I ain't easy, man. I was late today. I'm late for everything. I'm all over the place. So for them to stand by me not being an arse kisser, I don't reach out to people. I knew that I had to be basically my work ethic is just to be the best I can be, and hopefully, be really good, because this is the only way I'm going to hold on to this job that I love so much. So that was almost the motivation to do it as well as I did it, which was definitely to the best of my ability.
I think a lot of it gets lost because the whole broadcast was so slick. I think the amount of work, it all seemed natural.
It was slick because of the work.
Yeah. But because it seemed natural, which is probably a lot down to you and your style or whatever, but I think probably people don't realise maybe quite how. I tell you what, someone asked me if if I would ever want to do it. And I absolutely, I know how much goes in. Well, I know how much I think goes in, and it's not.
No, you got to live it. I
Yeah.
think so to do, especially to learn it, I did. Like I'd go off on tangents in like research and commentary, which is pretty easy to do. And you know, you'd find a rider from there, and who's that? And then you'd go on Roots and Rain, and that'd lead you down another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And sometimes before a broadcast, I'd easily stay up till 2 a.m. doing notes, right? And I'd have a note on everyone who's in that final, which was the top 30 men or whatever, which, you know, and top 15 women, wasn't it? So, or top 10 women. But I would always, there's always some people in there you never knew, but I'd always make sure I have something on them. I don't know. But in the end, I was like, it was wearing me out a bit, and I'd noticed it the next day. So when I got on top of it, then I'd always have a rule to try and stop by 10, 11 o'clock at night. Otherwise it would affect the broadcast. But yeah, I was all in. It was the hardest thing, mate. I had a bloke called Gary Bloom, like I said, and to work with him and have him, I'd come out of Freecaster thinking I was the absolute nuts at commentary, right? Like I was drunk, all the fans loved me. I came out with the most outrageous one-liners that would get me arrested now. Like the stuff I said was insane, but people loved it, and that was the start of it. It's unbelievable that Red Bull took me on it, actually, when I look back. It was a different time,
Yeah.
but like, you know, and do you know what? I've hopefully always worked for Red Bull now because it's the only place I've ever fitted in.
Yeah.
And it's because they're very direct, and I like that. You know, it works for the way I work. So, but and of course that last year, those races as well, like everyone, it was overwhelming, the comments. And on site, I couldn't move without people coming up to me. I couldn't move without people coming up to me. It won't be the same without you, Rob. It ain't going to be the same. And each time, and that happened, like, I can't even explain.
Yeah.
That's all I heard. A bloke was crying. In America, a bloke cried. He was like, I've seen this before, we're going to miss you and all this shit, you know. And, like, it took its toll on me. It did. It fucking tore a little piece of me away each time until basically there was nothing left. Yeah. And in Val di Sole, I did finish the commentary, and the next morning I come out of the hotel and this bloke heard me talking to someone who wanted an autograph or something. And he was like, are you Rob Ward? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, my kid loves you. And I thought, well, you don't know who I am, mate. And for the first time ever, he goes, I'm going to go and get my kid. And I was so done. I was absolutely done. I had to get in my car, and I just walked, mate. I got in my car and went. I didn't even wait. And that, you know, I wouldn't do that, but that's how.
Yeah.
And then I come home, and then that winter was, whew,
It's
that was
like-
a heavy winter, mate. And I don't suffer depression, right? I don't think I've ever been depressed in my life, honestly. And I don't even know if it was depression. It was like grief. But I couldn't get over it. It went on for 18 months. Like it did, until I went to Fort William. And then, even last year, and I went to Ligier, and we did a bit of work there. And these things started to help me come back a bit. But I was rinsed. I was absolutely destroyed.
In what way? Just like...
Empty.
Would you watch any of the broadcasts?
No, I can't. Well, I can't even. No.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, no, and now I can't listen to. Which is a bad, because for Beyond the Line, I do need to be on top of it a bit, and I probably will again. But sometimes I follow, the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup Instagram, but then I have to turn it off because it'll ruin my day a bit.
Right.
And that's nothing against who's doing it now. It's because I ain't doing it in my mind. You know.
Yeah.
So, it was brutal. It was brutal, and that ain't just me that's gone through it. I know that, people at work they don't talk about it, but I know that a lot of people went through it like I did.
What an episode! You did really well there.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Do you know what would finish it off?
But
If you could put some sort of link over my face.
yeah, I can do that. I could put
Is
a
that
video up on Ollie's face of an episode we think you'll love.
Is it on now?
There is a subscribe button here on this chair, and on my face, another video we think you'll love. Thank you. We appreciate you.
There's nothing in the chair now. Subscribe.